Hi guys, this is David Dispanat with MediaUnlock.net, and of course we're back at 3O Studios, and we're talking about the Sony a7 III. Now, normally when I do one of these review videos, I really break down a lot of the stats of the camera and what I really liked about the stats, especially if it has a predecessor, and how it's better than its predecessor. But let's be honest, guys, the a7 III is way better than the a7 II by leaps and bounds. And I feel like there's enough of those videos sitting out there on the internet that if you guys really want to watch those, you can go out and watch those and get that information. What I want to talk about specifically is how this camera performs as a sports photography camera. Now, there have been a few different cameras like the Canon 7D Mark II that has been very much loved by sports photographers. But I think for under $2,000, this camera may be the best sports camera ever to hit the market. Now, it does have some advantages over the a7R III when it comes to taking pictures because of its lower pixels at 24 megapixels, which is really all you need for sports photography.
Now, one of the really cool things about the Sony, and again, you're getting this for $2,000, is that it will shoot 10 frames a second up to 89 frames. Now, if you guys can do the math, at 10 frames a second, up to 89 frames, is almost 9 seconds of straight shooting. Now, it is going to take a minute to buffer before you can go again. Now, if you have a faster card, I have a 150 megabyte card sitting in my camera right now, so it buffers those images really quick. If you have a slower, older SD card, it is going to take longer to go through and buffer all those images. So it is really nice when you're doing sports photography.
So that's one thing I really like about this camera. Now, a few things that we did find. I shot a couple baseball games. I did shoot a few weddings, and throughout this video we're going to pop up some of the pictures from the wedding, from the baseball games. One of the big things that we found while shooting one baseball game was I was shooting in silent mode. What I didn't know is if you're shooting in silent mode and there's going to be a lot of movement, pretty much any sports event, you do not want to be shooting in silent mode because what happens is you get rolling shutter and you get warped pictures. Now I'm going to pop up a couple pictures and you're going to be like, holy crap, I didn't know a bat could look like that or the ball could look like that. Especially when you zoom in, and maybe we'll pop up a few zoomed in cropped pictures of the ball. And we found that shooting in silent mode is a no-go with the Sony a7 III. So if you do have one and you are shooting in silent mode and your pictures are looking warped, that rolling shutter is causing it, and you just need to turn the silent mode off and you're not going to have any issues. Now, I shot another baseball game. Again, both baseball games were minor league baseball games, and I found that we didn't have that warping issue, which I was very happy to find that out because at first I was thinking I was planning to do this whole video about the a7 III as a sports photography camera and finding out that it failed. It only fails if you're in silent mode. So you're also looking at about $1,000 to $1,200 difference from the Sony a7R III and roughly I think $2,000 from the Sony a9. So I think at $2,000, this may be one of the best cameras on the market, maybe to ever hit the market. Now, most all of the sports photography I did do, I shot with my Canon glass. One of the things that was the biggest thing moving from Canon to Sony was I sold my bodies, but I kept most all my glass, and I haven't bought that much Sony glass because it is so expensive. And with this Metabones version 5, which I've got the newest update on it, it really performs well with the Sony a7 III. Even the video autofocus has gotten better, while when shooting anything professional, I am still manually focusing it. Another really cool thing that we found out that works really well is the Canon 2X extender with the Tamron 70 to 200. So we were able to get 140 to 400. Now I think you do lose 2 stops of light, which is not the greatest thing in the world, but again, with the ISO capabilities of this camera, 2 stops of light is not really going to affect you, especially during a sports game where it's outside. So again, all the pictures that you're going to see that were popping up were all taken with Canon glass, the Metabones, and the Sony a7 III. The 4K footage was amazing. I did a couple weddings video-wise. I did some photography-wise as well. And I have to be honest, I do find that the a7R III performs much better as far as the quality of image, in my opinion. But is it worth $1,200 extra? I'm not really sure it is. Part of me wishes I hadn't bought the R3 and had just had bought 2 of these A7 IIIs. However, what I've decided is I'll just have an A7 III, I'll have an A7 R3. So I'll probably end up buying this A7 III as my backup camera, and it just performs amazingly. Now, shooting video-wise, I spent 6 or 8 hours shooting a video last weekend, and it performed magnificently. I just used the Canon 24-105 f4 L lens on the Sony A7 III. I manual focused it, but again, with that focus peaking is really, really intuitive and smart. So the nice thing is when I'm shooting with like older Canon cameras, like we're shooting on the Canon 6D at this very moment, you really have to have good eyesight or a monitor, as Kevin actually, who our videographer back there, he uses a monitor when he shoots with the Canon 6D because that allows him to see his focus points, and the monitor I believe that he has focus peaking on it. Am I not correct?
Correct.
Okay, it does. He's using an Aperture VS2 Fine HD. So it does have focus peaking, but the camera itself, the Canon 6D, does not, where the Sony A7 III does. So as I was shooting all day long and focusing, of course, not as good as autofocus, but I'm able to go from spot to spot to spot and do really quick focus because it's mainly what it does is outline things in red. I think you also have the option of yellow or white, depending on which color you want to use. I like red because I think it pops the most, especially with the wedding because there's a lot of whites and blacks, so that red really pops on the whites and blacks. And you're able to move from location to location and just focus peak, really quick. Actually, we'll pop up some video footage of the viewfinder showing you guys what the focus peaking looks like. It works very well, and as far as video is concerned, it was an excellent thing to have for a wedding. So one of the few Sony lenses that I have is the 24-72.8 G Master. This guy right here. That wasn't crazy at all, was it? So this lens worked really well with the Sony A7 III when it came to autofocus. So that's the one thing I really do love, and some people are going to sit here and complain and say the dual pixel autofocus on the Canon cameras are better, but I'm sorry, the autofocus on these Sonys, in my opinion, cannot be touched by any mirrorless and or full frame DSLR. The way that they focus is amazing. It is nice, smooth, cinematic, and pretty. Now I know there's some Canon shooters out there, I was a Canon shooter for a while, that are going to say to my face the dual pixel autofocus on the Canons are better, and I don't think they are. The Sony wins that battle all day long. Again, this was one of the few Sony lenses I did have I was shooting with that day at the wedding, and it performed excellent, allowing me to focus manually and or do touch focus, because the back of the screens are touch, so you're able to touch focus, or I just let it just do continuous autofocus. Like when we were doing the mother-son dance, I was able to move the camera around on my tripod, and it was able to just keep focus for me, and I didn't have to worry about constantly rack focusing, as they call, manually with a Canon lens. Again, it worked really well with the focus peaking, but if you do have Sony glass is the way to go because the autofocusing system, the motors in them are excellent, and I absolutely love them. Again, I'm coming from the Canon 6D, so there was no autofocusing option. It was all manual focusing with it. So as a quick recap, Sony A7 III, amazing camera, under $2,000, great for sports photography. If you were looking to get into sports photography, look at Sony's Sony A7 III. As well, for the price point, the best camera on the market, maybe in the history since digital cameras. At this price point, it's just amazing. So, to conclude, guys, our newest video is going to be right here. Diagonally down here, you'll be able to get a link, and you can go check this out on B&H's website. And if you are interested in purchasing it, it does give us a little bit of commission, so hit that link. And of course, down below, guys, you made it this far, so you know you want to subscribe to see the next video we got coming out. I'll catch you guys next time.